Yesterday, we looked at rookies. Now, let's look at the players in year 2 of their NBA careers and which ones are set to hopefully absolutely explode all over the league and in fantasy drafts. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and the craziest thing about Michael Voss's citizen's arrest was his coffee order. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. From now through to September the 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. So chuck through a thumb, a double bang, comments, all that stuff. Yesterday, as I said, we talked about rookies and how we have to be cautious about rookies and the value that they can or cannot provide, especially in a class as weak as this one is. Now, we're going to look at the guys in year 2. And this is where often we get some undervaluation, I think, because people, as a general rule, the new thing they love the rookies. They go over the top on rookies. And then, as we showed yesterday, they usually disappoint. So then, people have recency bias like crazy, especially in sport. Like, what happened last year is the only thing that's ever happened in history. Nothing can change moving forward. Nothing has happened a year before that. It's only what happened last year. And this is a recurring pattern, is that you see rookies, too many rookies get drafted and too high. And in the second season, they nearly all these same guys, there's fewer of them that get drafted and they go way too low. It's the idea of them getting slept on. And we talk about the idea of sleepers and how that concept has sort of evaporated a bit. I think there's a little bit of that still lives in talking about second-year players. Because again, they get let down as first-year guys, and then people don't worry about them as highly and don't think there's going to be steps forward. And there is. We get big steps forward year 1 to year 2, and year 2 to year 3 as a general rule. So let's look at these second-year guys. I've said breakout candidates there, breakout whatever, who cares? Whatever terminology you want to use, these are just the guys that I think are worth considering, worth looking at, worth perhaps drafting. So let's do some historical views back at this stuff. If we look back to the 2020-2021 season, the second-year players in that year, this is your Zion Williamson's, Ja Morant's. There was 1 top 50 points league guy. There was 9 top 120 points league guys, 6 top 100 players. And in category leagues, 1 top 50 guy, 7 top 120 players, and 4 top 100 players. So you know that the average for rookies was about 3 top 120 players, usually about 1 top 50 guy. As you can see there, we're talking 9 points league guys, 7 category league top 120 draftable players. If you want to talk generalities, want to talk general rules, just double the impact. However many rookies were usable for a full season in fantasy, we just double that number when we head into these players' second season. Yesterday, when we did the rookie show, we started our analysis in that 2020-2021 NBA season, which was the LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton rookie season. So now let's have a look at how those guys did in their second season, or that draft class did. So if you see this, you're watching this on the screen. We had 3 top 120 points league guys. In year 2, there was 8. We had 3 top 120 category league players. In year 2, there was 8. We went from 0 top 50 players in both points and categories to 3 top 50 players in year 2 in points and categories. Again, we're talking big changes. 3 to 8, 3 to 7, 0 to 3. Double. I know 0 to 3 is not double, but yeah. Big jumps. Big jumps. The next draft class, we're talking about the 21-22, the 22-23 NBA season. This is the 21-22 draft. Cade, Mobley, Barnes, Scotland Barnes. We went from 0 top 50 points league guys to 3. We went from 6 top 120 points league guys to 7. We went from 5 top 120 category league players to 8. Interestingly, we had 1 top 50 category league guy as a rookie, and we had 0 in year 2. That's largely because of Cade's absence in that season. But yeah, like again, just big jumps forward. Not as big as some of the other years, but pretty sizable changes in the overall value of second-year players compared to what they were as rookies. And then, if you look at last year, Paolo, Jabari Smith, that draft, the year 2 of these players, as rookies, we had 4 top 120 points league guys. That turned into 8 this season. We had 3 top 120 category league players, and that turned into 8 as well. We had 1 top 100 category league player turned into 6. 1 top 100 points league player turned into 5. It's a general pattern that is relatively... You're never going to get the exact numbers all the time, but the pattern basically holds. Now, we head into this season, where we've got Victor Wembanyama, Amen Thompson, Amen Thompson, Scoot Henderson, Chet Holmgren, Brandon Miller, Brandin Podziemski, Dereck Lively. This draft class, cracking draft class. Let's see how they've been viewed by the ranking sites, by the drafting sites. Remember, for last season, we were looking at rookies. We had 1 top 50 points league player. We had 3 top 120 points league players. We had 2 top 50 category league players and 3 top 120 category league players. We know the 2 guys were Chet and Victor, obviously. So how do the projections and the rankings and the ADPs view this class? Remember, 3 were top 120 players. For second-year players for this season, we have Yahoo's X-Rank listing 4 top 120 guys. Yahoo's ADP telling us we've got 6 top 120 guys. ESPN's Points League ranks telling us we've got 6. Their categories telling us that we've got 3. My projections have 9 top 120 Points League players and 8 top 120 category league players. ESPN's ADP tells us we've got 5. So you can see that those numbers through ESPN, Yahoo ranks, ADPs, Fantrax ADPs, they are very cautious. 4 top 120 guys on Yahoo. We look to double. We get on average about 8 top 120 players. I've got 9 points and 8 category guys in my top 120. And I reckon there's probably 17 to 18 second-year players, maybe more, that are draftable in a standard format. But that's where your value is going to pop up, isn't it? Because like if Yahoo's projecting 4 top 120 guys in their ranks and ESPN's chucking you 5, well, that means that there's a bunch of those guys that are pushed late and some guys that aren't even considered ranked in the top 120 who I believe, not necessarily will be the case, but I believe will be top 120. And the numbers from the past year show you that you're going to get 8, 9 top 120 points league and category league players as second-year guys. Not almost definitely, but pretty bloody close to it, I would say. Let's talk about who those players are in a sec, starting with Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren. You know the names we're going to talk about, their outlooks for this season. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel has been with us for so long. We've talked about them for so long on this show, which is great. We love doing that. And the reason we do it is because they're America's number 1 sportsbook. We've got a little bit of a different offer this time, and that is for every FanDuel customer. If you just bet $5, FanDuel is going to give you access, 3-week free trial to NFL Sunday Ticket, thanks to YouTube and YouTube TV. With your YouTube TV base plan, you're able to watch every regular season out of market Sunday afternoon NFL game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel that at any time as well. So go to fanduel.com/lockedon to download America's number 1 sportsbook. And don't forget to watch the NFL, but also don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, so let's talk about the guy that is the top second-year player, who is the top rookie very clearly. He is going to be the number 1 player in fantasy probably for the next 10-plus years. Of course, we are talking about Victor Wembanyama, who was the idea that I had about Victor Wembanyama was he was the number 1 pick or top 3 pick in Dynasty, and he will be a number 1 player as early as year 3, I think is what I said. I was a year off. He dominated. He was unbelievable. Actually unbelievable stuff that we saw from Wemby. Like it's I don't even know how to go too much over the top on this. He averaged 21 points a game in under 30 minutes. He shot 33% on his threes. He had 32 usage. He blocked 3.6 shots, which was like 4.6 for the last 3 months. He averaged 21 and 11 with 4 assists. He should go number 1 realistically in every draft. He might go like at 2 in someone, which is totally reasonable. He's ranked 1 on Yahoo. His ADP is 1. This is where it is. Like, he is number 1. There is, to me, not really any debate about this whatsoever. Wembanyama is the top dynasty prospect by a mile. He is the number 1 or number 2 player, however you want to see it, this season, without, again, any question whatsoever. And if you want him, you have to pay up. Those numbers are crazy, and he could play 4 more minutes a game this season. Yeah, the block numbers may come down and usage maybe stabilizes, but like, why would you have a player this good start doing less offensively? Like I said to Jeff Garcia on Locked On Spurs the other day, like if Victor Wembanyama has a literal quintuple double, 25 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 steals, 10 blocks, not one person's going to go, I don't believe you. They're going to go, league's cooked. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I don't know that he's going to get a quintuple double or a quadruple double, but if it happens, no one will be shocked. And this, again, it feels stupid. It feels hyperbolic. It just isn't, I don't think. It just isn't hyperbolic. Let's talk Chet Holmgren. Because I don't know what more I need to tell you about Vic, honestly. Chet, technically was a rookie last season. Obviously, 2 years since he was drafted, missed his entire rookie season. I think there is a bit of a risk of Chet going a little too high this season. He finished 36th in -1 rankings last season. He finished 52nd in points leagues, averaging 37 points per game. Now, like Wembanyama, he didn't play big minutes, and I think he plays more minutes this season. I think he does see an increase in usage. The worry there I have is, A, that maybe he's already being overrated in points leagues, but the presence of Isaiah Hartenstein may mean that Chet moves a little bit out more to the perimeter. It doesn't have to be that he's playing power forward the whole time, but on an extreme example of this, we saw Karl Anthony Towns move from center to power forward when Rudy Gobert joined. Obviously, Chet, Towns, Gobert, Hartenstein, all different players, different types of players. But the general theme is if you move from center and play more minutes at power forward, your field goal percentage drops, your rebounds drop, your block numbers drop on a per minute basis. Now, Chet might offset that by playing more minutes. Chet might offset that by not actually playing more than 5 minutes or 6 minutes a game next to Hartenstein. But if we start getting to a spot where he plays 12 minutes next to him, well, there is going to be some concern. Said he was 36th in -1. Straight 9-cat rankings might tell you that he was like a first-round guy. That is an insane pick to pick him in round 1 if that is what you decide to do. I would not ever recommend doing that. But I just think there is somewhat of a risk. He's ranked 22nd on Yahoo this season with an ADP of 16. I think 22 is totally fine. I probably lean a little bit more to me to be around 2/3, so a 25 to 28 guy, but I don't mind that. But going into the top 20 does just feel a little bit too high for Chet. Like he averaged, 16 and 8 in those 29 minutes. 53 and 79 was great. 2.3 blocks, but started out the season with sky-high field goal percentage or 3-point percentage, and it did start to come down. And he wasn't a high free throw guy in college. He wasn't a high 3-point percentage player in college, and they did start to creep back down. And I think you're recognizing that is somewhat important. So love Chet, one of the best rim protectors I've ever seen, including Wembanyama. His positioning and timing is amazing. But sometimes if your role changes and you move away from certain spots, you do have to be a little bit cautious of what that impact might be. The second overall pick in last year's draft was not a pick that I agreed with. I will admit that Brandon Miller was better than I thought. Now, my outcome for Brandon Miller as a prospect was like, I think he could turn into, not Paul George, I think he can become Chris Middleton, a very good multi-time All-Star. I don't think that his rookie year suggests that I was way off the base. I think he still could be good. He could be way better than that, obviously. And I don't think the decision between him and Scoot has been decided. Everyone seems to think that decision's been made and the Hornets were right and Scoot's a bum. I don't agree with that. Miller was in a situation where he was able to play quite a bit more than Scoot down the stretch on a team that was bad, obviously. And now we need to see what he does in year 2 because it's a different environment. It's a new head coach. Theoretically, it's more Mark Williams and LaMelo Ball. He was 121st in -1 rankings, Brandon Miller, last season, and points league's 103rd. Averaging 29. Now, obviously, inside the top 100 second half of the year when guys are out, but miles outside the top 140 to begin the season. Yahoo's got him aggressively pushed up to 66 with an ADP of 72. That sounds about sort of the right area, but I could easily see him being an 85 ranked player. I think taking him in round 6 or 7 is reasonable. Taking him around that rank, Brandon Miller and ADP is totally fine. But I'm not going to sit there and go, man, that is just amazing value. It's an amazing steal. We are going to get so much out of Brandon Miller if that's the direction we go. I don't think that is the case. He was a negative impact player. He's already 22. Rookies are often negative, so we expect that's going to improve significantly. 17 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 0.9 steals, 0.6 blocks. The minutes were fine, 32 minutes. What you need to look at there is the bad rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, subpar field goals. They are some of the things that may impact the overall fantasy production of what Brandon Miller can bring. I'm not saying that he's bad. I think the 62 to 70 range is sort of bang on where he should be. But I don't think that it's this unbelievable value play. And how he works with Ball, with Bridges, with Williams this season, in a full second year after sort of being in and out and off the bench and all that stuff last year, it will be really intriguing to see what he brings in year 2 here, Brandon Miller. Because this is a big time. We know these players get better. What is he getting better at this season is one of the things that I do want to watch, and we want to see sort of which direction that is able to go. We got, what else are we going to do? I've got 9. So you already know that I had those 9 players who I think are very clearly draftable players. We're going to go through those, plus about another 7 or 8 guys that are going to be worthwhile flyer types at the end of drafts. So we'll get into those all coming up. Basically we're just coming up with it right now. So after Brandon Miller, I want to talk about the guy that many, including me, thought should have been picked at number 2, and that is Sterling Scoot Henderson. Scoot struggled early on. He was always in a weird spot with Anthony Simons and Shaden Sharp there. Like, is he going to start? Is he not? Then he hurt his ankle early on in the season, and there were bad numbers. Rookie point guards suck. We know this. Rookie point guards who then get hurt in their first 4 weeks cost them immensely. He was a top 100 player post-All-Star break, Scoot. Yes, there was Jeremy Grant out and Simons was out, and all that stuff's true. He ended up finishing 164th in category leagues and 138th in points leagues, averaging 25 fantasy points, Scoot. But his rank is 175 on Yahoo. His ADP is 135. This is what I mean by these second-year players where we talk about them and overrate them as a rookie, and we did. I had him at like 95, I think, as a rookie, and that was clearly wrong, yeah? Right? I thought he'd be able to be better than what he was. But, as I knock my microphone, but saying that he's an undraftable 12-team league player is not right to me. It is crazy. He had 27 usage. He had 14 points and 5 assists. He ended up averaging he had the most double-doubles with assists of any rookie in the last 5 years or something. Many 20 and 10 games, a couple of 30 and 10 games down the stretch. He actually shot the 3-ball fine, 33%. Same as Wembanyama. I think similar to Brandon Miller. And that was one of the concerns with Scoot. Part of the issue was that he couldn't finish at the rim, which was bad, and the tons of turnovers, obviously. But I do think there is going to be pretty sizable improvements here from Scoot. I think he's like a round 9, round 10 player, especially in points leagues. Category leagues, yeah, there's going to be field goal percentage problems, yes, and probably some turnovers. And they still got the situation of Sharp and Simons there. But I think that maybe, suggesting he's an undraftable player, which is what that ranking suggests, I very obviously don't agree with that. This player that we're going to talk about now, I'm going to be very, very secretive. I'm not. It's Brandin Podziemski. I had him as a lottery player. He didn't go in the lottery. And then I didn't really know how he was going to fit in terms of minutes in Golden State. Well, he caused Klay Thompson to be benched and in the end let go in free agency. There was a report yesterday, the Warriors allegedly Podziemski said that they told him they want him to take 8 to 10 threes a game. And I said this in the mock draft earlier today. That's very hard to do. 16 players did it last season. One of them was Klay. But no one here is going to tell me that Brandin Podziemski is that volume shooter that Klay is. He averaged 3.6 3-point attempts last season. Getting to 8 to 10 is an insane number. But I said this in the mock draft, what I think this tells us about Podziemski is not worrying about who's going to take 10 threes a game. It gives us more of an idea that if they say we want you taking 10 threes a game, that the subtext of that is you are playing 30 plus minutes a game. Even though Buddy Hield got brought in, even though D'Anthony Melton got brought in. Because you can't attempt 10 threes a game if you're playing 24 minutes. So if they want him to get that many up, He's not Sam Merrill. If they want him to get that many up, he has to play 30-plus minutes. And that is the takeaway. Podziemski, despite playing like limited minutes last season, he had only 15 usage. He averaged 9 and 6, but he was ranked 171st in -1 and 157 in fantasy points. He's ranked 135 with an ADP of 136. That's an 11th round sort of player. I think he's a round 9 draftable guy. Round 9, round 10, around that area. I would happily go ahead of that ADP and rank range to draft Podziemski this season. That comment, while again we disregard the specifics of the 3-point volume for pods, it's the role feels better. The role feels secure. And the Warriors are a team that have too many good players, not enough great ones, but too many good players. But if they're going to prioritize him, well, then we need to be a little bit more excited about it. I had Amen Thompson as the third best player in this draft class from a real-life perspective. He also suffered an injury very early on in the season, came back and was sort of fighting for a role on a team that was relatively stacked. They won 41 games, the Rockets, and then at the end of the year when Şengün went down, and then blew up. He was crazy. He has an unbelievable fantasy game despite some of the shooting concerns. Despite barely playing, he was a top 140 points league guy. He was a top 135 category league player. Yahoo's got him at 127 rank with 126 ADP. I think we go earlier. I think we can go round 10 there. The situation's still the same where Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet exist and Reed Shepherd was drafted. But if Amen gets 30 minutes, he's top 50. Right, so we're not even looking at him getting 30. And he's not going to. If he gets 25, well, he beats this number. Look at those. 1.3 steals, 0.6 blocks, 10 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Yeah, he shot like horrendous numbers. That's cool. Like, we know that. But his overall field goal percentage was still 54, which is a massive, massive fantasy positive. In points leagues, you don't even worry about those negatives that much, even though he is going to be a better category league player than points league player, I believe. He's a round 10, round 11 draftable player. That Yahoo rank suggests round 11. I think we do round 10 for him, and I don't think that we feel all that concerned about that being the case. Let's go to the speaker in Utah, Keyonte George, rookie point guards. They suck. That is true. He elevated to the starting role because for some reason, or losing games, they started Taylor Horton-Tucker. That was one of the biggest. If you have eyes, you can see how this is just not going to be a really good thing for Utah to have Horton-Tucker in this position because he was dreadful. And Keyonte had stepped in. He was inefficient. And then he got hurt. And then he struggled to get his role back as the season went on. He ended up only 27 minutes and 22 usage, 13 points, 39% shooting. His impact was horrible. Negative EPM, bad, real bad. But he's got size. I don't even know if he's a full-time point guard. I think he's more of a combo guard. But what I do know is that this season, Keyonte George will be the opening night starting point guard without really any question at all. I also don't think that he's playing 27 minutes a night. Give him 5-6 extra minutes. He was ranked not particularly well in terms of his output last season because, again, he played 27 minutes and he shot horribly. I think he's a round 9 draft target. Yahoo's got him ranked at 124. That's round 11. That's outside of starter caliber zone. Yeah, you've got to deal with the field goals. I know this. The Yahoo ADP has him at 104, so people are jumping on. He ranked 174th in points leagues, averaging 22. He had just 22 usage. He shot 33% from 3 and 39 overall. And like Scoot, it wasn't the 3-point shot that was the biggest problem. It was the field goals and the finishing. And that will come up. He will draw more free throws eventually. Don't think we have to go super high, but round 9, round 10, Keyonte George, starting point guard, I'm in. I think there's some really, really solid value there. We talked about Brandin Podziemski. The Warriors may have another one that we need to consider drafting, and that is Trayce Jackson-Davis. I would love to be able to get the same sort of feeling of security on Jackson-Davis regarding his role. Like, if something we can interpret the playing time for Trayce would be great. Because if he's a 30-minute-a-night starter, he is a top 60 type player. And I don't think he's getting anywhere near that, by the way. His on-court impact was negative 0.1. That's awesome for a rookie. He is 24. He played 17 minutes with 16 usage, 8 and 5, 1.1 blocks, 70% shooting. He's a bad free throw guy, yeah. He blocks shots, he rebounds, he finishes, he scores pretty well. I like what Jackson-Davis can do. The problem is going to be is that we don't know what the Warriors are doing with their starters. Curry, Draymond, Podziemski, we think those guys are going to start. Kuminga, probably as well. So is it Jackson-Davis in the other spot? Is it Wiggins in the other spot? Is it Melton? Is it Hield? I don't know. Does Draymond starting at center preclude Jackson-Davis from getting over 20? Not necessarily, but it dampens it. 21 minutes of Jackson-Davis is a 12-team guy. 25 minutes is a top 100 player, and 30 is a top 50 player. Or top 60, whatever I said before. And that's what we would love to know. He barely played start of the year, but by the end of the year, it was very clear that Trayce Jackson-Davis was the Warriors' best center. His ADP is 128. Again, that's round 11. I think he's a round 11, round 12 guy. No problem in round 10 if you want to go that way. He averaged 20 fantasy points, which was 203rd. I think he can be a 25 to 26 guy as well. And I think his overall category production is going to jump. He only played 17 minutes. And I feel really confident that Trayce is going to play more than 17 minutes this season. Really confident. The last guy that I want to talk about, who I do have projected as a top 120 player, is another big man. We're going to Dallas and we're talking about Dereck Lively II. Lively very clearly outplayed Daniel Gafford in the playoffs. After Gafford came over, Doncic and Kidd were asked and they said, it's great, we've got a backup center, talking about Gafford. And then Lively got hurt, Gafford started, shot 100% for 3 weeks, and Lively didn't take that spot back. But by the playoffs, Gafford wasn't he was starting, but wasn't playing starters minutes. Lively was outplaying him every turn. Lively has a rank of 112 with an ADP of 120. I think a round 10 pick for him is fine. If you want to go to round 9, that's okay. I believe I would take Lively over Gafford because I cannot see a scenario of Dan Gafford playing 28 minutes and Lively playing 20, but I can see the opposite, the opposite number. I can see Lively getting to 28 and Gafford being a 20-minute-a-night backup. Last season, he was 154th Dereck Lively in points leagues and 142nd in category leagues. He averaged 9 and 7 with 1.4 blocks. Lively, he shot 75 from the field. Maybe that comes down. It's a very high number to keep up. But only 13 usage. Not that he's going to be a high usage player. He's bad at free throws. But blocks, rebounds, field goal percentage, I think a little bit more usage and more minutes should push him comfortably into that top 110 sort of a range. Or I've got him as a 10th or 11th round draftable player. I think that's reasonable to suggest that he might be in that spot. Maybe it's not, but I do think it is reasonable for him to be draftable there. Now, they're the 9 guys that I do have projected inside the top 120. And like I said, I've got another 6 players who I think are going to should be draftable. I don't have them projected top 120, but can easily get there. I wonder if you guys know who the names are. Well, you won't have to wait too long to find out. But these are players that, once we get into that round 11 zone, I think they're very much draftable players. Amen Thompson. I don't know what his role is going to be necessarily. Taylor Hendricks. Grade A Dick. Should be starting. Jaime Jaquez. Probably more for roto leagues because you've got stash ability. Noah Clowney. If he starts opening night, he's draftable everywhere. And then there's Bilal Coulibaly, who started at the beginning of last season, suffered an injury. He's a low usage player, but can get some defensive stats. But the Wizards should be pumping more minutes into him. So I don't know about Hendricks or Dick. Asar's probably the best of that group, and you could easily move Asar from that group into this definite top 120 thing. The situation I don't know is, what do they do with Beasley and Hardaway and Holland, Thompson, Fontecchio? How does he actually push to 30 minutes a night, especially with some health uncertainty? And we don't know how the new coach, new GM is going to value that. But Thompson, Hendricks, Dick, Bilal, Jaquez, and Clowney, very much all draftable. And one of those guys, if Asar starts in 31 minutes, easily ahead of this. If Hendricks plays 30, I'd put him into the top 120. If Clowney starts, he's in the top 120. Dick and Bilal, I don't think so, and I don't really see any path for Jaquez being a starter, but they're still draftable type players. And that's 15 players that I'm talking about who I think should be draftable from year 2 guys. Now, we probably don't get 15 guys finish as top 120 players. 8 to 9 is the more realistic path, I think, for us to get there. But that's where I'm at with that. So what I want to know is, what do you think about these year 2 guys? Anyone that I had on that last list, the flyer draftable type guys that you'd push into that top 120? Anyone that you disagree with their ranges? Just let me know down in the comments below. That brings us to the end about talking about second year players for fantasy basketball. Hit that thumb up over on YouTube. Hit the subscribe, and like I said, leave those comments down below. Guys, we are done here, somehow in under 30 minutes. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.